Thank you very much. I'm Nobuko Kayashima, Senior Vice President of JICA. It's my great pleasure to make a speech today in front of such eminent professors of Kyoto University, as well as a very talented and enthusiastic, engaged young students of Kyoto University. Thank you very much. I am not the academic. Yes, to tell the truth, I am a graduate of Kyoto University 40 years ago. So you can guess my age, but I don't mention my age. So I graduated Kyoto University almost 40 years ago. The literature faculty of literature, but I left Kyoto University because I really understood that I don't have any capacity to pursue the academic activity research. So I left university and I started working in JICA. And I have been always working in JICA as one practitioner of aid activities. And I have been mainly working for education programs, including both of the basic education as well as higher education programs. So today I'd like to speak about the SDG as well as the educational challenges of developing countries from my experience of aid practitioner. Thank you very much. So today I was very impressed by the opening remarks of Takara Sensei as well as the speech of other presenters and the speeches, presentation of the student, because we saw so many times these pictures, these colors, the combination of colors. And I was very impressed that the SDG concept was so well, how to say, it became the main pillar of the education here. As you may aware, the SDG is a succession of the MDG, which covered from 2000 to 2015. Similarly to SDG adopted by the UN, and the whole global community made the efforts to realize MDG during that time. But if we compare the SDG and MDG, MDG became really, how to say, penetrated in the different aspects of Japan. There were very few organizations and the people who were aware of MDG at the time, but the SDG became really the very important pillar of activities in many universities as well as private companies and organizations. So I again started this picture, but I want to skip this sheet because it was so many times discussed today. So the SDG had the 17 goals and 169 targets. It's so huge, and it is very, very challenging to realize all these targets. And what might be very important to make success in the realization of SDG is the partnership and the innovation. Maybe the business as usual might be not enough to realize SDG. So as what is happening in Japan, it is very important to involve the very different peoples and organizations, as Japanese university like Kyoto University are participating in the different activity of SDG, and private sector's involvement is also very important. Civil society involvement also, civil society is playing a very important role. That kind of partnership might be one of the key. And another key might be innovation. In a knowledge-driven economy, and the science and technology and innovation are playing more and more important roles. So the innovation might be another key word or another breakthrough in order to make the progress in the SDGs. since the theme of today's seminar is the SDG in Asia, I picked up this report. I find out that this chart from the report of SCAP, which show the progress, the current progress of SDG in the different sub-regions of Asia. In general, the progress differs between the targets. The general picture of Asia toward the realization of SDG is that the ending poverty, goal 1, and the quality education and lifelong learning, goal 4, and affordable and clean energy, goal 7, show good progress. But the negative trends compared with the situation in 2000 have been registered for the clean water and sanitation, goal 6, decent work and economic growth, goal 8, and responsible consumption and production, goal 12. So the progress is very diversified between the different targets. And also the progress are very diversified between the sub-regions. These are the 4 different charts showing the different sub-regions of Asia. Northeast Asia, they are behind in the sustainable cities and the goal 11 sustainable cities and the goal 13 climate action. But for Southeast Asia, they are behind in decent work, economic growth, or the climate action, or the peace and justice. And also the Southeast Asia and Central Asia, they are showing the different pictures. So we should not generalize the progress of SDG. The progress of the SDG are very different between the targets, the indicators, and also the progress are very different between the sub-regions and also the countries. And even within one country, the progress might be very different. Now I would like to talk a little bit about the policy of the Japanese government. Japanese government reacted very quickly and very clearly to the SDG. This was very different from the time of the MDG, because I have been working in aid work. The MDG was only dealt by the development cooperation departments of the government. Only one department under Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but other department or other ministry were very indifferent to the MDG. Maybe I should not say indifferent, but they are less, involved in the MDG at that time. But the SDG, for the SDG, the Abe administration established the SDG promotion headquarters in 2016, and also the Abe administration formulated the SDG implementation guiding principles. And these guiding principles is not the policy of ODA towards the developing countries. That is the SDG policies for the domestic, mainly for the domestic issues, plus the ODA policy to the developing countries. So yes. And these are the main features of the SDG guiding principle, as well as the annual action plan of 2019, the promotion of society 5.0 and vitalizing local economy of Japan and empowering youth and women are the 3 pillars of the Japanese SDG action plan by the Abe administration. You can see that the issue of the Japanese issue under the SDG, one aspect is the aging society. So we are less and less population. So we have to promote more empowerment of the youth and women. And we need to use more technology and IT, etc., to vitalize the society. So these are the main concerns of the government under the SDG. In aligning to the government policy, JICA is also made a guiding principles of SDG. But since JICA is the aid agency, these are the principles for our cooperation programs with the developing countries. Japan's ODA has been conducted with a concept of human security and quality growth. So it is also, this is also the spirit of the SDG. So we are again following this human security and quality growth in the SDG principles of JICA. And we selected 10 goals. Since there are so many targets, goals, 17, we selected 10 from 17 for the major area of our cooperation. And the last part, as I mentioned, we emphasize more and more innovation and the partnership with the different stakeholders. And JICA is currently, the scale of our operation is around $22 billion annually. And we are almost covering all countries in Africa or Latin America, etc. We have more than 10 overseas offices all over the country. And we are sending Japanese experts and Japanese volunteers. So these Japanese experts and volunteers are coming from, for example, Japanese universities or civil society organizations or private sectors or government officials or government research institutions. Many of the professors or researchers of Kyoto University had the experience of participating in JICA's program as the experts. They spent 1 year or 2 years to conduct a joint research with a research institute in developing countries, or they are visiting regularly some of the research institutes or universities or the ministries to provide their technical guidance. So in that way, we are combining the knowledge and know-how and the capacity which exists in the different parts of Japan in university or government organizations or private sectors, civil society, etc. That is how we are realizing the partnership with Japanese stakeholders. At the same time, we are cooperating with the international organizations like UNESCO or FAO, etc. in the field too. Now I would like to move to the education. I will not talk about the basic education. I would like to talk today about the higher education and innovation, because these are the area which is more related to the innovation or the science and technology and innovation, etc. The education is the overarching goal of the different targets of SDG. Without good human resources, any targets of the SDG can be achieved. So the basic education, that is a starting point of education. Without good quality of basic education, higher education cannot conducted successfully. But in a current world where knowledge is becoming more and more important, innovation can have more potential, more possibility to improve the well-being of the human and also change the social system itself. We need the development of the higher education. the knowledge development or technological or social innovation plays very important role in the realization of SDG. And in order to realize that, we need a good quality of human resources who can do that. So in that recognition, the SDG put also the higher education targets, such as the assuring the access, assuring the quality, the equal access to the quality tertiary education, including university. This wasn't existed under the MDG. MDG only targeted the primary education. But under the SDG, the tertiary education became also one of the important targets. And also the scholarship availability of the scholarships to developing countries became one of the targets. This is because the mobility of the people, introducing the knowledge from outside of the country through the mobility of the people, or nurturing the youth using the higher education institutions outside of the country became another important aspect to realize the SDGs. In the past, studying abroad was criticized by the word of the brain drain. The brain is draining outside of the country with a very scarce resources of the developing country. But nowadays, there is other words are more used by the brain circulation, because the students who are studying from developing countries in the developed country, they may return to the developing countries, or even though they remain in the developed countries, they may make some kind of a linkage. So any country nowadays can develop by themselves alone, independently, separated from the outside of the world. So it is very important to create a mobility. JICA is also providing the scholarship programs to developing countries' youth, and maybe some of them want to stay in Japan, or some of them will go to the United States or the European countries. But I hope that that might be also if there's some kind of the mobility between the developed country and developing country, and if some kind of the linkage, the networking is created, and through that channel, the knowledge, technology can be introduced to the developing country, I think that might be also, to a certain extent, the successful case. If the students trained in Japan will just only staying in one small country or developing country, it's a very pity. That person 1 minute is left. So that person have the capacity to communicate with the outside of the world. So we would like to create a mobility. So the scholarship. The innovation. This is not the target under the education target of the SDG 4, but under the target 9, there is the target of the innovation, and the scientific research has to be promoted, or technological capacity of industrial sectors has to be improved. These are also, again, the targets. So this is the chart which shows the higher education population. The blue is the students of higher education institutions in the middle-income countries. The yellow is the high-income countries. So yellow is the mainly developed countries, and green the middle-income countries. The red is the low-income countries, always very small. But you can see around the end of the last century, the number of students in middle-income countries became much larger than the students of the developed countries. Nowadays, more than around, maybe here, it became more than double. But nowadays, more than the 3 times bigger students are studying in the higher education institutions in the middle-income countries. So in that way, the higher education in developing countries is expanding very quickly, especially in the middle-income countries. But I have to say at the same time, the portion of the students, the number of students of higher education in low-income countries is always very small. So among the developing countries, again, I should not generalize the picture. There's a large disparity between the poor countries and middle-income countries, the progress of the development of higher education. So I wanted to show the development of higher education in Asian countries. So this is the chart which shows the situation of higher education enrollment in 2000. And the majority of the Asian countries, the higher education enrollment is less than 20%. But if we see the situation of the 2018, the majority of the Asian countries enjoyed the enrollment rate more than 20. For example, the China, that is more than 50. The case of Thailand, the higher education enrollment is 49%. Japan's higher education enrollment is around 60. So the Thailand is almost the same level, is reaching to the same level. Also the Malaysia, the higher education enrollment is 45%. In Asia, there are very few countries which has less than 20% at the higher education enrollment. Myanmar 16, Cambodia 13, Palestine 19, etc. But otherwise, most of the countries, the population of the higher education is growing. And I want to mention that the mobility of the higher education students, at the beginning of this century, around 2000, the number of international or foreign students was only 2 million globally. But nowadays, it became 2 and a half times bigger, the number of international students. In this hall also, we have many international students, and you are one of them here. And I have to say also, the OECD country, this is the host country, so the majority of international students are going to the developed countries, the OECD countries. But the students who are going to non-OECD countries are also increasing, such as China or Malaysia. Malaysia is becoming the hub of the international student in Asia. They are receiving a lot of the students from the Islamic countries. So the mobility is mainly from developing countries to developed country, mainly US or Europe, the European countries. But there are some small changes. There are new other hubs, the regions, in the different regions in the developing countries. Last night I made this picture. I picked up the number of the universities which are ranked in the Times Higher Education University ranking among the top 80 ranking. In Japan, we have 800 top universities. Japan, we have 800 universities in total. But among these 800 universities, we have only 24 or something like, which are ranked among the top global top 800 universities. But China, they are ranked in more than Japanese universities. But there are other developing countries or the Asian countries which have a good universities, for example, India or Malaysia or the Philippines, Indonesia, Pakistan or Thailand. There are good universities in these countries. I have been working in eight programs for the higher education, etc. When I worked in the 90s, it was very hard to find out Japanese professors who would like to participate in JICA's program for the support of the developing countries. They said the working with developing countries that make any use to my academic achievement. But nowadays there are many Japanese professors, maybe including the professors from Kyoto University, hopefully, who are very eager to participate in ODA programs, higher education. It is because the networking with the academics in developing countries is very beneficial to them. The working with good professors or academics of developing countries is very beneficial for their global academic activities. So not only expanding quantitatively, the quality of higher education in developing countries is improving. Although I have to say that there is a big disparity of the quality among the developing countries and also within the country of the third world. This is the last chart which I prepared. This is the chart related to the target, the target 9 about the research and development promotion. This shows the volume of expenditure for the research activity, including public and private sectors. The biggest budget or the biggest expenditure for the research activity in the United States. But Japan is also a large country, the country which expend the large scale of the expenditure for the research activity. China is bigger one. Also the Korea is expanding. You can see the red circle in the Asian countries. But if we compare the expenditure for research activities, the difference is very big. Japan, China, maybe the Korea to a certain extent. The Singapore, Malaysia, these are the Thailand here. The money used for the expenditure for research is very small. Yes, lastly, I wanted to very quickly show the 3 programs of our higher education program. This is a case of JICA's higher education project. The case of the King Mongkut Institute of Technology, Rakaban, which Japan supported for more than 40 years from the 60s in the last century. We invested a lot for the campus construction as well as for the technical cooperation. We have sent more than 400 Japanese university professors or researchers to support that university. But this project finished in 2003, and that was the project which we created or established one university, only one university in a developing country. But this is very conventional, the old style, our programs in higher education. Nowadays, we have to do our aspects, not only creating in this way the higher education individual institutions in developing countries. The new feature is a joint research between Japanese university or Japanese academics with the research institute or the university of the academics of developing countries. This project or program started 2008, and we are investing a lot for the joint research project between Japan and the developing countries. Kyoto University is one of the biggest partners of this program, and the current President Yamagiwa Sensei, he is a specialist of the gorilla, maybe. So that was the research project of the, I don't know, I don't remember the exact name of that project, but he led joint research of this SATRES program in that area. So nowadays, this kind of the joint research in order to create the innovation or new knowledge is very important in the developing activities. The third case is the networking. This is a SeedNet program which combines 26 ASEAN universities plus 14 Japanese leading universities, including Kyoto University. We are accepting foreign students under this network, and they are studying in Japanese university. At the same time, we are providing funds for the joint research among the members of this network, etc. So in this kind of the networking is one of the very important aspects of the higher education development in the era of the SDG. So I have spent I would like to finish my presentation. In order to conclude, before conclude my presentation, I would like to mention 3 points. So that innovation is the indispensable factor to make the progress in the challenging targets of the SDG. And the higher education development is the second point is that the higher education development is very important. The talented, motivated, well-educated, and well-trained youth, such as the students of Shishukan here or the students of Kyoto University, might be the valuable assets for the realization of the SDG targets. The third point is that the networking, the mobility creation might be very important aspects to promote the innovation and the promoting science and technology. So not only working with one country by one country independently, JICA is trying to create a mobility by providing a scholarship program as well as supporting the joint research project. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Just one comment, a little bit of a contribution. You started by explaining by, noticing that there is more interest for SDGs compared to MDGs. I think I can understand that because MDGs were designed mostly and essentially to help developing countries only. And so it was normal for it to be left to the institutions that are meant to support developing countries. But under SDGs, we say no one left behind, which means even inside Japan, there is some level of discrimination for whatever you call it. There are people who don't eat enough. There are people who live below the poverty line, and those people must be taken care of. And that must be achieved by 2030. And I think I understand why, this being a very serious government that took that seriously, and it's only normal for us to see some involvement at the highest level. Thank you.